Howdy everybody, this is Omar, your audio amigo, back today with another episode of Thrifty Tunes. Today we're going to look at another IEM that I bought completely on a whim, mostly because of the name. These are the Sonic Memory SM1 Lite. They came out at the end of July 2024, and they're priced at $19, right smack in the middle of the most competitive price segment in my opinion. Are these special enough to stand out amongst the competition, or are they just going to be a also-ran in the market? Let's find out. So we'll start with what's inside the box. So inside, you get the IEMs already attached to their nice cable. You get a really nice blue carry pouch with the Sonic Memory logo on it. You also get 4 sets of ear tips. You get small, medium, large, and extra small, and they are wide bore. You also get a set of replacement filters for the nozzles, along with an analog USB C to 3.5mm adapter. And you also get a little perfumed scent packet that gives the whole unboxing experience this perfume scent. The perfume alone is unique in the price range from what I've seen, and in my opinion, this is the nicest carry pouch, in my opinion. It's very soft and it's not too difficult to pop open. So yeah, overall I think this is probably one of the best accessories packages at this price, if not the best accessory pack for the price. So well done, Sonic Memory. So let's talk about the cable. The cable's okay. It's a 2-conductor braid. It has this ribbing on it that's impossible to show up on camera, but it's almost like they forgot to polish or smooth the surface. It doesn't feel super premium, but it feels pretty good in the hands. It's nice and solid. There's the logo. There's the Sonic Memory logo at the end of the right angle 3.5mm jack. And here on the Y-split, you get AG OFC copper, which is basically telling us silver oxygen-free cable, basically what kind of wire they used. The chin slider is functional. It slides down a bit in regular use, but not an egregious amount, so overall I'd give it a pass. The ear hooks are very soft. They have sort of an elongated shape to them. You can tell they're very tall ear-shaped. They have clear right and left markings on them, and they already come attached. It's not really that much of a problem. The cable itself is not microphonic. It behaves very well. I would not rush out and replace it. Overall, it's a very good cable for this price range. So let's talk about the build. So these feel like molded resin shells to me. I couldn't find any information online. The only thing they would tell me is that this top panel is apparently polycarbonate with stainless steel on it. I left my protector on because I'm a psychopath. But these feel like molded resin to me. The nozzles are also stainless steel, and the top unscrews. See if I can do it on camera here. Yep, you can see me doing it. I want to unscrew it all the way. But that's to put the new filters on that are included. Also, they are apparently compatible with Sonic Memory's MAE tuning kit, but I was able to find zero information on that besides the products page. I think what it means is that the swappable nozzle ends from other Sonic Memory IEMs will work on these, meaning you can elongate the nozzle for an even deeper fit if that's what you want. As far as venting goes, there's a single vent hole right above the driver and essentially nowhere else. I did not have any driver flex issues with these, and yes, the drivers are blue, but we'll talk about that in a second. I don't have any issues with the construction on these. They're super small. They have kind of angular edges, but they're not rough or sharp in any way. They're, sort of basic. They have a rounded off socket that seems built into the IEMs themselves. Durability overall should be on par with other molded resin IEMs at this point, and if anything, the polycarbonate shell with the metal plate on it should give it a bit more durability. So yeah, no complaints from me as far as build quality is concerned. So let's pull up the specs. These are fairly typical for budget IEMs. You've got 10mm dynamics on each side. They are blue due to a acoustic coating that they put on the front baffle for the driver. It's supposed to improve vibration and resonance effects. But outside of that, the specs are pedestrian, pretty normal. Low impedance, high sensitivity, means you don't need to go out and buy an amp for these. They come with an adapter anyway. They are some of the lightest shells in my collection, and the cable doesn't add that much weight, so if you're concerned about that sort of thing, they're super lightweight, but other than that, nothing really stands out in terms of specifications on these. So let's move on to the cool wall. So Sonic Memory went in a completely different direction from all of the other molded resin IEMs in this price bracket. Not just in terms of sort of top plate design, but also in terms of shape. They're see-through like all the other IEMs in this price range, but that's basically about it. The mirrored top plate is pretty cool and unique, and the overall angular shape and the sort of kind of like an MMCX connector, but not really, makes them quite unique, especially in this price range. I'm going to go ahead and put these in cool. I feel like they're different enough from everything else to stand out in a positive way. And I think that the shape with the shiny metal accents on the connector and on the nozzle just sort of overall works. But just because it works for me doesn't mean it'll work for the Council of Ladies. So let's see what they have to say about these. Looks like they generally think it's pretty. Only a single no and a couple of mehs. As far as compliments go, looks like these might get you some, but I wouldn't count on it. As far as their general thoughts go, looks like the shape and the mirrored finish with the metal accents are kind of a hit with some of the ladies. So yeah, not bad, Sonic Memory. Good job on that. Moving on to comfort. Their super small size and basically super lightweight mean that they disappeared as far as my ears were concerned. I was able to wear these with no issues, long periods of time, no real problems. My wife, on the other hand, had kind of an issue with the square shape and the ear hooks. So this corner down here landed on top of a part of her ear uncomfortably. So for her to wear them properly, instead of wearing them like this, she has to angle them forwards so that this bit no longer touches this part of her ear. And when she does this, any slight tug or pull on the cable causes them to rotate and slide out of her ears. So unfortunately, because of that, these are going to fail the tiny ears test. I think if Sonic Memory had gone with a more conventional shape, they would have passed, but those are the risks that you take when you change up the look or form factor of your product. I personally didn't have any issues, but your mileage may vary with these, so just be careful if you're buying these sight unseen. Alright, so let's talk about the most important thing. Let's talk about how these sound. The bass here is nicely boosted, not quite to bass head levels, but it sounds pretty fun and exciting. Unlike Pluto's Waiting for You has some bass drops that rise and fall in frequency at around 15 seconds into the song. This set can render them all well, even the lower frequency ones. There's a pretty good bass slam here, but some of the lower drops are missing some of that rumbly texture, but yeah, overall it's pretty well done. As far as drums and bass guitars, the Rock 1 preset beat on the Suzuki Omnichord, or as the rest of us know it, Clint Eastwood by the Gorillaz, sounds nice and authoritative. It doesn't get drowned out by the rest of the track. This is overall a great bass presentation. If I had to nitpick it, I'd say it would be a bit too soft on the low end for my opinion, but there's still a decent amount of rumble there. It will still be too much for some folks who don't really care for this much bass, but I personally think this is the sweet spot. Fun enough to be engaging, but not too much fun as to be overwhelming. Moving on to mid-range presentation. Again, good overall. Slightly colored in what in my opinion is a good way. It's kind of interesting the contrast happening in the mid-range on this set. So, male vocals will have just the slightest bit of added warmth that y'all by now know that I like. Khaled's classic Alech Tadi from the Fifth Element soundtrack. The song is amazing on this set. Bass guitar is super clean, very authoritative in the mix. All of these strings and percussion are easy to separate and focus on. Then you have Khaled's voice himself, which is just so melodious and clean, and the tiny bit of added warmth from that mid-bass lift just makes his voice come off smoother and creamier, in my opinion, nicer. There's a pretty good balance here with the male vocals, and the female vocals also get a bit of a boost. So the male vocals benefit from that warmer mid-bass, and the female vocals have a nice added emphasis thanks to the upper mids being boosted, but we'll talk about that in a second. Twice's K-pop standard TT has some great vocals and an extremely punchy bass. The bass on this song is actually quite powerful, but in my opinion, the added emphasis to the vocals manages to cut through the bass in a really nice way thanks to the added emphasis from the upper treble, or upper mids. Overall, the mids are definitely colored in a good way, in my opinion. There's a bit of a V-shape even within the mids happening. There's a bit of recession, mostly with things like acoustic guitars and some keyboards, but it doesn't absolutely kill the replay, in my opinion. Fans of smooth, natural, flat mids won't like the color on either end. I think it's kind of nice so long as you don't mind losing emphasis on some instruments. The upper mids and treble are two completely different stories here. So the upper mids are boosted, I would say, just under where my personal limit is. I don't think this set is shouty, but it's getting close-ish to shouty. I think the extra bass does a good job of sort of balancing out the sound signature. As I mentioned, boosting the upper mids like this can make female vocals pop, which is kind of nice. Claris's Hitorigoto sounds really great here. The vocal harmonies get all of the focus of the replay. That being said, I do think there's a loss of some of the upper harmonic overtones here. Like, they're there, but they just decay a little bit too fast for my taste. The treble in general here is very recessed, very lean. Cymbals are just a touch too dry for my taste. There's a ride cymbal in the chorus of Britney Spears' Toxic. It's subtle. If you listen in the left ear, it's there. You can hear it on this set, but I feel like it doesn't linger, it doesn't wash like it should on a slightly more treble forward set. Overall, while the upper mid-range has, in my opinion, a well-executed boost, I feel like the treble frequencies decay a little too quickly for me. This is definitely not a set for treble heads, but again, not bad, and especially, interesting if you're kind of treble sensitive. So let's talk technicalities. I went with Sonny Rollins' version of You Don't Know What Love Is for this one. For low technicalities, you got Sonny on sax, you got Doug Watkins on bass. They both have a lot of dynamic low notes. You get gravelly, rumbly saxophone notes, and you get the ringing of the strings from the bass. The low-end details on this set pop out just fine. You'll notice them nice and easily. On the higher end, however, you're going to lose out on some of those micro details in cymbals and vocal harmonics like I mentioned before. Shania Twain's Man I Feel Like a Woman is a pretty good example here. The replay is good, and the detail on her voice is stellar. You can pick up all the little nuances of her vibrato and things. But I wish the cymbals just had more detail to the hits and especially the washiness of them. Overall, I would say slightly below average upper end technicalities for the price range, mostly due to that lack of sparkly energy up top. Stereo separation here is pretty good. We'll go back to Mediterranean Sundance. Both guitarists, plenty of room to play in each ear, audience squarely in the middle, no closed-in feeling, no claustrophobic sound. As far as perceived 3D soundstage goes, there isn't anything special going on here in my opinion. Again, if you're listening to well-mastered tracks, you'll get good soundstage. But for this set, a lot of the marketing seems to center around gaming. So I did a small, completely unscientific gaming test, fired up Deep Rock Galactic, tried to see if I could tell where bugs were coming from with my eyes closed, just based purely on the sound cues. I think these were pretty decent at that. I could, pretty much always tell where bugs were coming from accurately enough. So overall, I would rate these as having good stereo separation and a pretty decent perceived 3D soundstage. Alright, so let's get ready for some comparisons. So these are what I would call a sort of controlled V-shape tuning. They boost things a decent amount, but they don't overblow it. I have a few sets here to compare them with. I'm going to start with the one that sounds the most similar to this, which is the Moondrop Chu 2. So I'm going to put them right over here. The Chu is more balanced and natural sounding than the SM1 Lite. I could describe the SM1 Lite as being like a slightly more V-shaped Chu 2. The Chu does better with that low-frequency sub-bass rumble, while the SM1 hits harder in the mid-bass. The Chu 2 has much more treble energy than the SM1, and the mid-range is much more natural sounding compared to the vocal-enhanced sound on the SM1 with a slight recession. But other than that, these two I think are very similar overall. Next up, we've got the original Tangzu Wan'Er. Okay, here in jade green, which is the set that I have. So, the Wan'Er is also vocal focused like the SM1, but the Wan'Er does a lot more magical things to female vocals than male vocals, whereas the SM1 Lite adds a little bit of magic to both male and female, but as a result is less magical for females than the Wan'Er. The SM1 has a more fun bass presentation, and I wouldn't call either of these sets, let's say, upper end. I wouldn't say their strong suit is upper end detail, okay? But of these two, the Wan'Er sounds like the more detailed set, especially up top. So yeah, overall, better for male vocals, better for female vocals, slightly more detailed. more bass punch on this. Lastly, I'm going to bring in the 7Hz 02. I'm going to put them, scoot you guys to the side and put you guys right there. I should have backed up the boxes a bit more for today. So the 02 is sort of like a warmer sounding SM1 Lite. It has better sub-bass rumble, like the Chu, than the SM1 Lite, and it has an overall warmer sound, which is interesting because it also has more top-end treble energy. It's an interesting comparison between these two because the SM1 Lite is very vocal forward by comparison, and the 02 comes off sounding a bit more balanced. I think it's to do with that upper mid-range boost that the SM1 has. So, overall, the Wan'Er is the best if your library is full of female vocals. Go ahead and take them away. The 02 is your choice if you want a slightly warmer V-shape with more detailed highs. The Chu 2, as y'all know, I think is the best all-rounder of the group. And the SM1 Lite is sort of kind of on its own. It has its own little niche, I think. It has more forward vocals and is more V-shaped than the Chu, but at the same time, it has an extremely relaxed treble presentation that makes it better for people who might be sensitive to that region. Okay, time to rank these on the Audio Amigo Arbitrary rating scale. So, right off the bat, this is easily the nicest accessories package in the price range. The inclusion of the analog USB C dongle is just a really nice thing to have. No, it doesn't have a DAC in it, okay? This is just an analog dongle, so there's no processing happening here. But it does mean that anybody who buys this as a set doesn't have to go out and buy one. They can hit the ground running without having to go out and grab something. Like I said, nicest pouch in the price range. The tuning most closely resembles the Moondrop Chu 2, which is a good thing to resemble. It's a great tuning for beginners with even less risk for treble fatigue. Yeah, it's not the most detailed sound, but it's not bad. All things considered, I'm going to put this in the but I like this tier. I know that the treble roll-off is going to be a contentious point for some people. It looks like a precipitous roll-off, but it doesn't sound like a precipitative roll-off. There is still detail here. It's just not as forward or as easy to pick out compared to its competitors. Based on sound alone, I would put this probably in the upper end of the good tier, but this accessories package is just so well thought out for new buyers who don't have any IEMs or accessories. You get everything you need to immediately start daily driving this set from the moment you get it in the mail. So you get that, and you get replacement filters to keep it going in case, they get damaged or lost or broken or something. So, do I recommend these? Yes, but only if you are sort of either completely new to the IEM hobby or you are pretty darn treble sensitive. I've seen folks online saying that the Chu 2 and some of the other budget choices can be fatiguing. If that's the case for you, the SM1 Lite is for you. Especially if you don't want the full-on bassy warm tuning like the ND Venus or the QKZX HBB. I will, however, warn potential buyers of this set that although I did not find this set to be shouty or fatiguing because of the upper mids, some folks find even the Wan'Er's upper mids fatiguing. So if that's the case, steer clear of this and go grab the ND Venus or the QKZX HBB instead. Overall, though, for people who are treble sensitive and don't mind the upper mid boost, I think this is an amazing buy for an absolute newbie into the hobby. Maybe not so much for someone who's already in the hobby. This isn't just an IEM. This is like an IEM starter kit. The choice to include a basic dongle, I think, is fantastic because I feel like anyone who comes into the IEM hobby buys a basic set like the 02. And like, okay, well, I have my IEM. I need something to put it in. They'll go spend a couple bucks on a pouch. Like, oh, I kind of want to plug it into my phone for use with other things. They're going to end up going to buy a cheap, $3, $4, $5, $6 dongle. So yeah, this is a great starter set. I just don't see a lot of reason to pick these up if you're already in the IEM hobby. Unless you like the design or you think the pouch is super cool or you fit that category of people who want good upper mids energy and a relaxed treble presentation, and that's why you don't want a warmer set. So yeah, that's my recommendation here. But yeah, that's gonna do it for me today. The pouch still smells like perfume, by the way, and when I pulled the IEMs out of my storage box to review, they also smelled like perfume. It took the smell quite a few days to go away as well. I don't know if all that gamer marketing might be the reason for the perfume. Like, is the set perfume because they assume gamers don't bathe? Maybe I'm reading too much into this. But anyway, if there's an IEM you'd like to see get the Thrifty Tunes treatment, let me know down in the comments. I appreciate all of your support. Thank you all so much for watching. This has been Omar with Audio Amigo Reviews, and I'll catch y'all next time.